Hello viewers, welcome to our program on immigration and you. I am your immigration attorney Michael Phulwani, and once again we are with us Attorney David Nachman, my partner.
Thanks so much, Michael. Always a
David,
pleasure
welcome.
to be here. Thank you.
Now I know, David, that you are going to India very shortly.
I am, shortly.
And why don't you tell our viewers what your plans are, what are you going to be doing in India and all that?
So we've actually mentioned it in prior shows, but I just want to let everyone know that I'll be going to India very soon and visiting several U.S. consulate offices, one in New Delhi, one in Mumbai, and one in Chennai, where hopefully we'll get a lot of really great information about administrative processing, about consular processing, and we'll be able to bring that back. And of course, we'll share that information with you, our viewers. We also want to let everyone know, and I will be in India through the end of November. So if you would like to meet with me or have a discussion with me, please feel free to contact our office, send an email, give us a call, and we'll set that up for you. That's not a problem at all. Also, to let you know, we NPZ Law Group will be sponsoring English Vinglish. It's a Bollywood movie. It'll be shown on November 17th in the afternoon in the Teaneck cinemas as part of the Teaneck International Film Festival, which the NPZ Law Group sponsors every year. And we're pleased this year to be able to have the opportunity to have distinguished members of the agents group that helped with the movie, and also
the distribution company.
The distribution company. So those individuals will be there and speaking on a panel after the movie. So we invite everyone in the community to join us at the Teaneck International Film Festival, especially on Sunday, November 17th, for this screening of English Vinglish.
And both David and me will be going also to India sometimes in January.
January,
so,
that's right.
And that's very helpful in the way that, let us say that we start talking to the consul something now, and they say, okay, keep on pending and something or whatever needs to be done. After 2 months, we both go again and say, oh, by the way, our case is still pending and you promised that you're going to take care of that.
Exactly. We're going to keep the pressure on for you.
Yes,
right?
Yeah. Okay, some questions coming from our viewers.
And that's a good sign, because it means that people are actually watching us.
Definitely watching.
That's
I'll
right.
tell you what, you have no idea how many people watch the program and how many people send us emails and thanks, and we really, really appreciate. I mean, basically,
There's so many questions, we can't address every single one, but what we do is we pick the ones that are probably the most interesting ones to address them.
an interesting thing, that I've been on this program for last 30 years, and for last few years David has been with me. And an interesting thing, when somebody comes in and said, you did the green card for my grandfather or grandmother or my father, you are our family lawyer for last 30 years. I said, thank you very much. And they said, we used to watch you when we were 6, 7, 8 years old, and were watching with our parents. They were watching something, so we are sitting next to them watching.
And now it's
and
the
now
next
I'm
generation,
coming here,
right?
I'm getting married and coming to apply for my wife.
The next generation.
It makes us so happy.
That's right.
that generation to generation, and we really, really thankful to you and grateful to you for watching our program for the last many, many years. With that, David, the questions that we are now getting from some of our viewers, remember the children that come under the age of 16, the Daca.
Right.
Cases, they applied for Daca. We gave them a lot of good advice. And you have some statistics number here to how many people have applied. I think about 500,000 or something.
Yeah.
We can talk a little bit about that. But the question that keeps coming is, ultimately, what is going to happen? Will our EADs and status be extended for further periods of time? They were uncertain now as to whether the CIR will pass or not, or the DREAM Act will pass or not. What if doesn't pass? I mean, most likely it's going to pass, but I'm just saying, hypothetical question is, what will happen? They're a little worried, basically. They're concerned, so they want to hear something from us, what we can tell them may or may not happen. So go ahead.
Sure. Well, obviously there are several questions in there, Michael, and one of the questions is, of course, Daca. And I guess the big picture is, are Dacians, individuals who qualify for DACA, able to get extensions? And the answer is yes. They can apply for extensions, and that was part of the program, that they're allowed to apply for extensions of their employment authorization. Of course, this is a discretionary measure that was, of course, implemented by the Obama administration. The question then is, well, what happens when the Obama administration is no longer in office? Can this program be taken offline? And of course, because of the nature of the program and that it's not regulatory, it's not written into the U.S. Code of Federal Regulations, but it's policy in nature, the answer is yes, it could be taken offline at any time. But you'll recall, if you've been tuning into our programs, that probably when it came online, which was way back in August of last year, we were talking about how incredibly unsuccessful it might be if the Republicans were to try to wrest this away from, from being a policy. And we said that, as a matter of fact, we talked about it within the realm of at that time, we talked about it within the realm of the fact that we had an election in November, and what would happen potentially if Mitt Romney were elected over President Obama. And so the possibility of that being taken offline, everyone was very concerned, and they didn't apply for DACA because they were said, oh well, if DACA comes, if Mitt Romney ends up getting elected, then obviously he's going to take that offline. But what was very interesting is that even in that election, we didn't see Romney taking a very firm stand on the fact that he was going to take that away. In fact, I believe that in the election, he made it pretty clear that he wasn't going to take away benefits that were previously granted. And I think that was the right thing to do. So he sent the message that because it was something that was passed by President Obama, and people were relying upon it, that it wasn't going to be something, the rug was not going to be pulled out from under them. And so I think that he did the right thing politically. Now, I can't look into the crystal ball and know for sure what's going to happen in the future, but of course, if comprehensive immigration reform gets passed, then obviously the idea is that this whole DACA gets swept into the DREAM Act, because the DREAM Act provisions are much more liberal in the comprehensive immigration reform bill that's passed through the Senate.
As you know, that the Senate has already passed the comprehensive immigration, which includes the DREAM Act.
Right, but also, now the House has to address it.
But I'm saying, I support what you said, I agree with you, that even in the House, there is a lot of opposition on granting legal status to undocumented aliens, especially when it comes to the path to the citizenship.
Right, that's the legalization provisions, right.
But what I'm saying, with regard to DREAM Act, even the House, most of the people are supportive of the DREAM Act.
That's exactly
so what they are doing, instead of passing the whole comprehensive, they are going,
piecemeal.
House is going in the direction of piecemeal, and DREAM Act is a good piece that they will not oppose to that. The issue here is a political issue, whether the Democrats and the advocacy group, migrant groups, will accept a piecemeal law to happen. So this is where I am hoping that even if they have a different version of the bill, when it comes to a conference committee, the good sense will prevail over them. They realize, they understand, they know that by opposing hard on the immigration, it's going to further affect the Republican Party as it did in the elections before.
I absolutely agree, Michael.
So let us pray, keep our fingers crossed, something will happen. And
I think one of the really important things for us to point out to our viewers is that the talk on the street, of course, in Washington, D.C., seems to be that something has to happen before the end of the year.
Exactly.
So we know that there is a big push on. We know in early October there were many marches on the Capitol. We know that there's a lot of tremendous pressure being put on the House of Representatives to act. It's really anyone's guess as to where that's going to go right now.
And one other thing. While you are waiting, you got a DACA application approved and you have an EAD card, and right now immediate pressure is not there because you are legally permitted to even stay. In some cases you can even travel also. The important thing is that there may be other options. Don't forget that. People who are education-wise, they can apply under the employment categories, or they have family members who have filed the petitions for them, or they get married to a US citizen or a green, many options. I mean, there are options like an H1 visa, L1 visa, or marriage, or getting a green card. So this is one of the things. If any of the DACA applicants come and sit with David or me, we say, okay, this is fine, but let's talk. Let's talk more. Let's try to understand your situation, and let us see whether we can help you further in any other way.
Well, let's give an example, Michael, because I think for our viewers, it's really important for you to understand what we mean by that. Because, for example, I've had a lot of people who have come to me, and I think that one really big benefit, this is one point I'd like to make, one really nice benefit of DACA was that it brought a lot of people to our office to talk to us about their options. Because ordinarily they would probably be lying low and not doing anything. So it brought them out to start thinking about what potential options they had. So one young woman came out to see us who qualified clearly for DACA, and we talked to her about DACA, and then I said to her, oh, have you ever been the victim of a crime? Just so happens. So all of a sudden she said, oh yes, and she started explaining how she was robbed at knife point, and this all happened. It was, terrible story, poor thing. And then she started to tell me how she filed police reports and that there was a police officer who was working with her to try to find the culprit. So now what we're doing is working with her to gather all of the evidence, and what we're going to be doing is submitting a U visa application for her, which of course now she's going to be able to use to go to the green card after having the U visa status for a couple of years. Now that's one potential option. Michael, you also raised a really important one, and that was the individual who's DACA who travels. And recently there's been a new case, it's called arabally, yerrabelly, and this is something which is really important for people to know. If you qualify for DACA, then what you could do is you can get a travel document, and if you entered without inspection, you can leave the country using that travel document and come back in and regain entry as someone who has advanced parole, or they're paroled into the United States. Once you're paroled into the United States, then what you can do is you can start looking for a way to get status in the United States.
That was going to be my question, David. You just picked a little different way. And the question that's coming from some people is that I came without a visa and I'm getting married to a US citizen, but I'm a DACA. I'm a legal status now. I have a permission to live legally and work, and I don't have a 245I. Can I adjust the status in the US? And my response is that hopefully they may make a change, but looks like that DACA does not put you back in the same situation as having entered the US legally.
That's right.
So now the solution to this is about this case that we have in the
arabally, yep.
Which the judge said that based upon the re-entry, basically he came back legally.
That's
so
right.
He entered legally this time, not the first time, but the second time he has come through the advanced parole. So now he can be considered having entered the US legally and therefore eligible for adjustment of his status. So that was a very interesting court case.
Right, and we should point out to our viewers that where arabally works is in situations where you have a travel permit through adjustment of status, through an adjustment of status case, where you have a travel document in TPS, temporary protected status, or where you have the travel document through DACA.
I don't recall, David, if you know whether the Immigration Service has kind of, as a policy decision, taken notice of arabally versus arabally, saying that yes, it is okay, or we're still relying on the court case in pursuing that kind of case.
Well, right now they seem to be going in the direction of approving those cases,
yes.
And the last group of minutes that I read from the ILA releases, is that the district offices are recognizing it. So that's very good news for everyone.
That's right. Yeah. So look here, from where to where we take you, where you probably thought there is no hope, no chance at all. But there are always options, there are always problems for which we have solutions.
And the most important thing is talk to a competent immigration practitioner, talk to someone who knows what they're doing, and they may be able to come up with those options for you.
आज का समय यही समाप्त होता है. We come to an end of today's program. David, thank you very much. And
thank you, Michael.
आप सब लोगों को नमस्कार, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल. फिर मिलेंगे अगले सैटरडे और संडे को ITV और विजय नावेशा के ऊपर. प्लीज़ देखते रहिए. ये प्रोग्राम्स आपको रिसेंट मोस्ट करेंट इंफॉर्मेशन आपके पास पेश करते रहेंगे. विल बी giving them most current and recent information every time we do a program. So thank you and goodbye.